This is probably the most controversial video that I will be recording to date, because in today's video, I'm going to be talking about how Proverbs 13:22, where it says the wealth of the wicked has been stored up for the righteous, is not talking about unbelievers or non-Christians and Christians. This verse is not talking about the wealth of the bad people is going to be given to the good people. In fact, I'm about to show you from the Bible, the words of Jesus, that this verse is actually talking about wicked Christians' money being given to righteous Christians. What does that mean? We're talking all about it today in this video. Well, welcome back everybody to part 3 of this series, Biblical Secrets to Create Infinite Wealth. Yes, God has instituted ways for his people to create infinite amounts of wealth, but the two big problems are, number one, most of his people don't believe that this is possible. And number two, a lot of his people don't even believe that having wealth or having abundance is even good, right? In fact, if you missed part 1 and part 2 of this series, all you got to do is click the link down below in the description. We have linked both 1 and 2 together, okay? So in part 1 of this series, just a very quick recap. In part 1 of this series, I submitted to you out of Deuteronomy 8:18, where it says, remember the Lord, for it is he who has given you the power to create wealth. I submitted that maybe one of the reasons why most of God's people stay broke is because they think the only way to create wealth is with time and with effort. Most people are trading their time for dollars, but where we see here in Deuteronomy 8:18, God is not saying, I'm just going to give everybody wealth. He didn't say that. He said, I want to give you the power to create wealth. It is my conviction that God the Creator created us to be creative, and instead of trying to build wealth with our time and with our effort, God has instituted a way for his people to begin to build wealth, not with time and effort, but with our creativity, right? The same way that when God has a creative thought, he begins to speak it into existence and begin to take action, and that creative thought becomes something, is the exact same way that he intends for his people to begin to create wealth. Not this laborious slave mentality, right? I'm the worker, I'm the tail, not the head, right? I want to be an employee, not a business owner, right? Like, man, it's so hard to make money. If you're under that mentality, please, please, please go check out the first part of this series where I break all of that down, okay? Part 2 of this series, I submitted to you that perhaps one of the reasons why a lot of God's people stay broke is because a lot of God's people have conflicting internal beliefs around the subject of money. On one hand, we think that, man, would somebody please give an offering so that we can build the orphanages and send the people on the missions trips and do the work of the ministry. But on the other hand, like, don't you dare have a bunch of money, because if you do, you're bad, you're wicked, you're greedy. You know, the love of money is the root of all evil, so beware of money. And it is my conviction that one of the reasons why God's people stay broke is because they have conflicting internal beliefs around the subject of money, around what God says as far as his desire for us to prosper, to be the head and not the tail, right? To be above and not beneath. And I also submitted in part 2, and again, if you miss it, just click the link down below. I also submitted in part 2, if having a lot of money is so bad, right? If money makes us less holy, because this is what a lot of Christians think, the less money you have, the more holy you are. And that's just completely false mindset. It is a completely demonic ideology that is not from the Father, right? If less money makes us more holy, then why in the world does the Bible tell us to give to the poor? Like, if we were to give to the poor, wouldn't that take away their holiness if we were to give to them? I discuss all of this and more in part 2. So again, guys, if you missed any of those, click the link down below in the description and check out part 1, part 2, if you missed those. So let's jump right on in, and we're going to get down to the nitty gritty. What does Rick mean when he says there are wicked believers and this whole wealth of the wicked stored up for the righteous? Come with me here to the board and let's check it out, okay? Proverbs chapter 13, verse 22. If you're watching this video, you may be familiar with what it says here. It says, the wealth of the wicked has been prepared or stored up. Oops, yeah, stored up for the righteous. Okay, so I don't know about you, but growing up, I actually heard this verse talked about many times. And the implications of this verse, the way that I was taught growing up were, God is going to take the money from the bad people, and he's going to supernaturally take all this money from the bad people, and then just, if his people just pray hard enough, if they just, worship long enough, then all of a sudden, supernaturally, God's going to poof the money from the bad people to the good people, okay? But here's what I want to submit to you in this video. Check this out. Okay, here in just a moment, I'm going to show you the words of Jesus where this word right here, wicked, I want to submit that this is not about the unbeliever. Okay, this word wicked and this word righteous, they're actually talking about two different things than just the good people and the bad people, or the unbeliever and God's people. Because here's the punchline, guys. Our God is a wise king, okay? No wise king, let alone God, is going to take money from this person and just flippantly give it to another person when both of the people have financial literacy, both of them are financially irresponsible, right? Both of them don't know how to multiply money. Neither of them know what wealth is or how to manage or steward or create wealth. Like, what wise king is just going to go, well, you're a good person, you're a bad person, even though both of you guys have these false mindsets about money, even though both of you guys and gals have never done anything to steward or multiply money. So, hey, why not? I'm just going to move it from you to you because you're bad and you're good. That's what most believers think when it comes to this verse in Proverbs 13, the wealth of the wicked stored up for the righteous. Okay, but wisdom does not work like this, guys. Wisdom does not function like this, just flippantly, like, well, because they're good and they're bad, I'm just going to move hands. No. Wisdom is the primary thing. Proverbs 4 says, in all you're getting, get wisdom. And I want to just submit to you guys that perhaps the reason why this verse has not come into fruition for you yet is because not only are you not the righteous person in this verse yet, but perhaps you might even be the wicked person in this verse. And again, hang with me here because I want to show you guys a really interesting insight out of the book of Matthew. Check this out, okay? So I'm just going to read the verse here. You guys have probably heard this passage many, many times, but in the book of Matthew chapter 25, the Bible talks about the kingdom of heaven. In fact, I'll just read it here. It says this, Matthew 25, verse 14. It says this, for the kingdom of heaven is like a man traveling to a far country who called his own servants. Now come with me here to the board. I want to show you this. Okay. Hey, I really hope that you're enjoying the video. I want to invite you guys. I have recently created a free training teaching people how to make money online. My students are literally making anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 a month, and some of them even make hundreds of thousands of dollars, not in a year, but in a single day. If you want more information on how you can get started, all you need is a phone and a laptop. You can go to digitalproductacademy.org, or you can click the link below in the description. Guys, after you watch the free training, if it sounds like it might be something cool for you to check out, you can book a free call with one of my client success coaches, and they'll be able to help you more. Now, back to the video. I'm going to write a couple of these context clues down for you because so many times we read this and just flippantly go by because we've heard it said 100 times growing up, okay? But the master called his servants, okay? That's the first thing I want you to see here in this verse, because even though we've heard this passage a number of times and we assume we think we know what it means, we've got to actually dive in and look at the context clues of what's really going on here. So if the kingdom of heaven is like a man traveling to a far country who called his servants, then guess what? We learn later on at the end of the passage, this is like God, right? The kingdom of heaven is, and the way that the kingdom of heaven works is like God calling his servants to himself in this part of the passage, okay? Now, I want you to think about something. If a person is willingly out there living in wickedness all the time, okay, they are not a servant of God, right? This is specifically talking about the master's servants. Like, he is our Lord, and it is our joy and our pleasure to serve him and his kingdom. The master is calling us, the believers, his servants. Okay, so I want you to take note of this, that this is not talking about just any random person. This is talking about the master's servants, his people. Okay, so take note there. Very interesting. For the kingdom of heaven is like a man traveling to a far country who called his own servants, and watch this, and delivered his goods to them. Okay, now a lot of times, this passage of scripture, when it comes to the parable of the talents, a lot of times it is preached, it is taught that talents are actual, your talent, your ability, your charisma. God's given everybody a little gift. But I want you to look deeper into this passage here. There's a number of different versions. Actually, say it correctly. The master is giving these servants gold. Okay? It's not just saying like your charisma, your talent. The master is literally entrusting money. And in this specific case, talents. And I'm going to break this down here in just a second. Let's keep going. Okay? So the master comes, calls his servants, delivers to them his goods. Other versions say his property. And other versions say his gold or bags of gold, okay? And to one he gave 5 talents. You guys know this part. To another he gave 2, and to another he gave 1. Now watch this next part, okay? Each according to his own ability. In fact, I'm going to write this down. This is another context clue. Each according to his or hers own ability. Okay, so what does this mean? Now, here in just a moment, we're going to see that the way that God expects for his people to deal with money is not in a lazy way. It's not in a passive way. It's not in this way that's like, oh man, money's just like terrible. Like, man, we don't want anybody to have too much money because money makes you greedy, and the love of money is the root of all evil. However, would you please give an offering, because we want to send people out to the orphanage. We want to build the orphanages. We want to adopt the orphans. We want to rescue people. We need the building fund, but like, don't make money, right? Like, so God's people are completely confused about this thing. But the punchline is this: perhaps the reason why you don't have more when it comes to your finances is because you don't possess the ability to steward them yet. I'm telling you guys, there's so much in this passage, okay? Each according to his or her own ability. Some of us have lower abilities to manage finances. Some of us are a little bit more. Some of us have a lot. And then some of us are way up here, or we're pushing to be way up here because we want to learn how money works, and especially what God thinks about money and how God says money works, okay? So take mental note of this, each according to his or her own ability, okay? Now watch this. And immediately the man went on his journey. Verse 16, then he who had received the 5 talents went and traded them immediately and made another 5 talents. Pause right here. Could it be the reason why you are not able to multiply the finances that you have now is because you're not doing this? Another context clue. The one with 5 took immediate action. Too many people are like, man, maybe next year, maybe next season. A lot of God's people are all just sitting around waiting for another word. Like, man, as soon as the next word comes in, I have no reason why the last word didn't happen, but man, if I could just get another word. God's not going to give you another word till you do something with the last word, right? Like, we've really got to start getting the mind of Christ when it comes to money, guys, when it comes to our destiny, when it comes to finances. Because if all you're going to do is just sit around and wait, like maybe one day out there, and hopefully one day, and God, hopefully one day God's going to move. It's not about us waiting for God to move. God is waiting for us to move. This one who took the 5 and doubled it, The Bible literally says he took immediate action. He went immediately. You got to stop having this mindset like, well, one day out there, God's going to, or God's getting ready to. It's not that he's getting ready to. It's not that he's going to. It's that Ephesians actually says it like this. Now, to him who is able to do exceedingly, abundantly, above all you could ask, think, or imagine according to his power that works in you. It says, now to him who is able. Too many of God's people, when it comes to their financial destiny, when it comes to building wealth, not just for them, but for their kids and their kids' kids or children's children, they're waiting for next season. They're waiting for tomorrow when God is saying, I'm ready right now. Now he is able to do exceedingly, abundantly, above all you could ask, think, or imagine. God does not live in this realm of maybe. God does not live in this realm of, man, maybe next season, maybe. God's saying now, take immediate action. If I told you to do something, go do it immediately. In fact, I need at least 10 people in the comments right here to say it like this. Action takers are money makers. Okay? It takes action, guys. Faith without works, faith without action is dead. If God gives you a little breadcrumb of an inspiration or a nugget or a word, take that thing and just start going for it. Don't wait until you have, oh, well, I need 32 more pieces of the puzzle to come together. That's not faith, man. Anyways, I will digress here, but let's keep moving on, okay? So check this out. The one with 5, he took the talents and immediately went and started trading them, made another 5, verse 17. And likewise, he who had received 2 gained 2 more. But watch this. But he who had received 1 went and dug a hole in the ground and hid his Lord's money. Again, this is not talking here about your talent, your charisma, your special gift that God gave you. Yes, God gives talents, he gives gifts, he gives charisma. But the context here is about money, okay? And let me break this down for you, okay? So the Bible literally says here, he gave 1 5 talents, 1 2 talents, and 1 1 talent. What was a talent? In Bible days, now all of this can be verified with just simple Google searches. Come with me here to the board. A talent in the Bible was worth 6,000 denarii. Okay, now what was a denarii? A denarii, I believe I'm spelling it right. A denarii was worth 1 day's wage. Interesting. So you're telling me that not only is this verse not talking about people's charisma, their special gift, their ability, it's actually talking about money, and not just a little bit of money. Watch this. If a denarii is worth 1 day's wage and the master entrusted 5 talents, okay, so 5 talents, this would equal to be 5, 10, 15, 25, this would equal to be 30,000 denarii, okay? I'm just doing the math here in my head. This would come out to be roughly $6 million. Okay? The one with 2 talents, okay? This would equal to be about 12,000 denarii. Okay? That would come out to be about $2.4 million. Okay? And then the one with 1, obviously that's 6,000 denarii. And that would come out to be about 1.2 million. Now, these numbers are a little bit arbitrary because obviously, there's inflation, and this one, this is worth a little bit more today as far as gold. Gold's worth this much today and that much yesterday and a little here, a little there, but more or less in the ballpark, okay? The master left $6 million roughly to the one with 5, 2.4 roughly to the one with 2, and 1.2 roughly to the one with 1. Guys, this is talking about money. Talents are denarii, guys. Okay, denarii was a 1 day's wage. So please, as we move forward in the training today, be anchored in this thought. It's not just like, oh, God's going to give everybody a cool gift, and if you can do something with your gift, then maybe you're going to be found faithful, okay? Yes, but specifically here, this passage is talking about money. Let's continue to move on because it gets even more incredible here. There's so much here, okay? So anyways, the one with one went and dug a hole, buried it in the ground, hid his Lord's money. Watch this. After a long time, the master of those servants came and settled accounts with them. Again, another context clue. He's the master of these servants. Okay? Wicked people would not call themselves a servant of the Most High. Okay? Could God use a wicked person to do his will? Sure. But generally speaking, are wicked people servants of God? No, they would not identify as servants of God, and God probably is not looking at, wicked people as his servants, like, hey, you're my servants, you're my people. He's not looking at them like that, okay? So again, these are all God's people. The one with 5, the one with 2, and the one with 1, they're all God's people. Continue on here with me, okay? Verse 20, he who had received the 5 came and brought back 5 more talents, saying, Lord, you delivered me 5, and look, I've gained 5 more talents besides these. The master said to him, well done, watch this, well done, good and faithful servant. Let's write this context clue. This is an important one, okay? When the servant multiplied what the master had entrusted to him, the master responded back with, well done, good and faithful servant. Now, where else do we see this language at? Well done, good and faithful. Oh yes, this is where the Father at the end of the age, where God's people stand before him in righteous judgment, and to the righteous, if they have been righteous in his sight, guess what he says? Well done, good and faithful servant. So God is connecting righteousness, this well done, good and faithful servant, this idea of righteousness, he's connecting it to the person who actually said, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do something with this money. I'm going to go double what God has put in me. Because how many of y'all know everything that God does, it's not in addition, it's in multiplication. Every single thing that God touches, every single thing that God puts intention behind is to multiply. And how do we know this? Because in the book of Genesis, he told Adam and Eve, guys, go out there, be fruitful and add. No, he didn't say that, right? He said, be fruitful and multiply. Why did God give Adam and Eve this mandate of multiplication? Because this is who God is. God is not just addition, he's everything I do is multiplication. And I want to submit to you that this financial literacy that is becoming available to you through these videos, through other people, right? You've got to take it. You've got to take immediate action on what you're learning, and you've got to learn how to multiply this stuff. Guys, God did not intend for us just to be slaves to a system. God did not just intend for us to be the tail and not the head. God did not intend for us just to be the borrower. He wants us to make so much that we can also be the lender. But God's people, they are so scared of money, right? They're so scared about, well, beware of the love of money. Yes, but beware of not growing your financial literacy, your financial ability, each according to his own ability. Beware of not growing your ability, your capacity, your financial intelligence to not be able to know what to do with the money. Beware of that. Yes, beware of the love of money, but most people need to beware of, I don't know what to do with money because I don't know how money works and I don't know how to multiply it. I don't know how to steward it. So we're just going to be down here praying really hard. Hopefully God's going to supernaturally poof some of the money from the bad people into my account and poof it into my account because I'm a good person. Right? I'm getting on my soapbox. Let's keep going here. Okay? So we see this here. To the ones who multiplied, okay, he said, well done, good and faithful servant. Then he goes on to say, You have been faithful over a few things, and I will make you ruler over many things. Interesting. Perhaps the reason why you don't have many things when it comes to your finances is because you've not learned yet how to be faithful over the little you got. And again, in God's world, faithfulness is not just like, well, we're just kind of keeping up with it. No. We're going to see here in a second. Faithfulness is not just like, well, we're kind of just here surviving. No. God's saying, no. Faithfulness in my eyes is multiplication. Multiplication. I need at least 10 people in the comments to drop this word, multiplication. Okay? And how do I know that? Keep reading here with me. So the one with 5 doubles it. He says, well done, good and faithful servant. The one with 2 doubles it. He says, well done, good and faithful servant. Verse 24. Then he who had received the 1 talent came and said, Lord, I knew you were a hard man. Now, let's pause right there. Okay? Pause right there. Context clue. Okay? The master is a quote-unquote hard man. What does this mean? Too many believers are so flippant with how they think money is going to be given to them. You know, most believers are just like, well, my father owns the cattle on 1,000 hill and he's going to supernaturally just provide me a miracle, right? But that is not in alignment with what Matthew 25 is saying here. The master is a hard man. And what does that mean? Let's continue to see here what that means, okay? He said, Master, I knew that you were a hard man, reaping where you have not sown, and gathering where you have not scattered seed. Okay, so here's the punchline, okay? As believers, we need to stop being so flippant about just like, oh, we just need money, God. I need a financial breakthrough. I need a miracle. And God's saying, you more than a financial breakthrough, more than a financial miracle, more than you like only crying out in prayer. Prayer's awesome, and please continue to cry out in prayer. But more than that, you need to go take immediate action. You need to grow your knowledge. You need to grow your skill. You need to increase your own ability, each according to his own ability. And you need to stop being what he says here. Actually, before I get ahead of myself, okay? So the master wants to reap even where he didn't sow. He wants to gather even where he didn't sow seeds. And this is the next part here. The one with 1, he says, I knew you're a hard man, reaping where you had not sown, gathering where you had not scattered seed. Watch this. I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Look, here, just have what's yours. But the master answered him, you wicked and lazy servant. Wicked? Wait, this is the master's servant. Context clue, let's check it out.
Hey, real quick, if you've made it this far into the video and you're liking it, do me a favor, share this video with somebody that you think might also receive some value. My biggest heart in this channel is to simply bring some awareness, financial literacy, and do it all from a biblical perspective. So go ahead and share the video, like and subscribe, do all that stuff too. Back to the video.
Okay, so to the one who was lazy, okay? The one who was like, man, I don't want to go figure this thing out. It's too hard. I'm just going to hope the master takes it easy on me. The master, he's a quote-unquote hard man. He expects more of us. And when the one who didn't multiply the money that the master entrusted to him, he called him wicked and lazy. Perhaps the reason why many of God's people stay broke is because they are too lazy to try to figure out this money thing. Because they're so preoccupied by being prosperity police, making sure don't have a lot of money. Like if you have too much money, you're greedy, and beware of the love of money, everybody. On the same token, on the different side of the same token, they're also saying, God, please give me a financial miracle. Oh God, break in with miracles. Listen, it's not God's will for us to live off of miracles alone. It was not God's will for his people to live off of manna alone. It was God's will for his people to not be lazy, but to be strong and very courageous and to actually go take the land, fight giants, take fortified cities, and not live off of the leftover, just like, well, if this is all you want to do, I'll meet you here. I'll meet you in the just enough. But only those who experience me as the more than enough actually are going to go slay giants in the land, right? But too many of God's people, like Matthew 25 says here, they're wicked and they're lazy. Okay, so don't be lazy about like, well, I don't want to have to figure out all this money stuff. I don't want to have to figure out, how to save on my taxes. I don't want to have to figure out how to open up a trust. I don't want to have to figure out how to invest. I don't want to have to figure out how to start businesses and create wealth. I don't want to have to do that. Like, that's too much. Like, I'm pretty decent here. I'm comfortable here where I'm at. Or maybe you're not comfortable. But the punchline is this. Don't be lazy about it, because if you're lazy about it, the master called him wicked. And watch this next part. This is so mind-blowing to me. Okay? The one with one here. Have what yours, master. Then the master said to him, you wicked and lazy servant. You knew I reap where I've not sown, and I gather where I've not scattered seed. You ought to have deposited the money. There it is again. It's not a skill. It's not a special gift. It's not God's going to give you some cool thing. It's money here. You should have deposited my money with the bankers, and at least you could have brought back some interest. He's like, you didn't do anything? Like, you literally didn't do anything. You just sat there like, hopefully the master's going to come back and rescue me. You didn't do anything? You should have at least went and invested it and did a little bit with it. Nothing? And the next part is, this is the punchline of the whole entire video. Watch this. So you should have at least went and deposited my money and came back and gave me interest. So watch this. Take the talent from him with one and give it to the one with 10. Look at this. Remember the one who was not lazy because they went and took immediate action, okay? Because they had grown their own ability. The one who multiplied the 5, he said, well done, good and faithful servant. And the one who was too lazy to try to figure it out, he called him wicked. Well, guess what? In this story, the wealth of the wicked was stored up for the righteous. What? What is going on here? Like, these are not like just the bad people, unbelievers, people who don't love Jesus. These are the master's servants. And he called some of them wicked. Why? Because some of the servants in the master's kingdom, they are too lazy to go try to figure out this money thing. And because they're too lazy, they are stuck in poverty. They're stuck in lack. They're stuck in, man, I wish I could do better for my family, but I don't want to, like, we're decently comfortable. Like, we can't really give the way we want to give because we just have barely enough. Or I don't want to have too much money because if you have too much, it makes you greedy. And I just want to be comfortable. Listen, one of the most selfish things that you could aspire to do is just have enough. The Bible literally says, the first part of Proverbs 13:22 says, a righteous man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. And then the next part says, and the wealth of the wicked stored up for the righteous. Okay? So why is this important? Because if all you aspire to do in your life is be lazy about this money thing and like, well, maybe the Lord, the Father with the cattle on 1,000 hills, I'll just pray and maybe something will poof into my account, right? If that's you, because that's where most Christians are at right now, okay, then the problem is this. I just want just enough. I just want to be comfortable. I don't want to have too much. The problem with just enough, the problem with just comfortable, I just want to be comfortable, is that in that case, Proverbs 13:22, a righteous man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. You can't be righteous by just having enough. If you just have enough, how are you going to leave? Yes, it's a spiritual inheritance, but the Bible is clearly saying a righteous man leaves an inheritance for his children's children, and in the same breath, the wealth of the wicked is stored up for the righteous. Righteous and righteous, it's in the same verse, okay? And I just showed you here, in this context, A righteous person who is not lazy with figuring out this money thing, with starting businesses, with believing that I really am the head and not the tail, and it's not just going to be some, woo-woo, super spiritual, I prayed, I did a 40-day fast, and then poof, money just came into my life. It doesn't happen like that. You've got to take immediate action on the knowledge that God is giving to you, and you have to increase your ability so that you can become a wonderful steward, a good and faithful servant, and not a wicked and lazy servant. Let's finish off here. This is so interesting at the end. Okay, so after he says, so take the talent of him who has and give it to the one who has 10. Now watch this. This next part is even more mind-blowing. Okay? These are the words of Jesus. This is mind-blowing to me. Then he goes on to say this, for to everyone who has, more will be given. But him who does not have, even what he has will be taken away. What? Do you remember this part here where we were talking about how the master, he's a quote unquote hard man, right? So you need to change this idea that like, well, when it comes to my money, man, I'm just going to hopefully something's going to supernaturally poof into my account. Like, no. That's not how this works. The master is a quote unquote hard man. The master is saying, hey, if you want more, you have to become more. And then you have to do more so that you can have more and that you can give more, okay? So that you can help more. This isn't just going to be this flippant thing. God is a wise king who's not just flippantly changing money through the hand of this one to that one, who's just as financially illiterate as the next guy, who's just as financially irresponsible as the next guy, who doesn't know how credit works as much as the next guy, who hasn't started a business just like the next guy. Like, God is a wise king who said he's looking. God is looking. The kingdom of heaven is like a man who went on a journey. God is looking for servants that he can entrust wealth and riches and prosperity to, right? He's looking for those who are going to say, you know what? Whatever you've given me, I'm going to go figure this thing out. I'm going to go multiply it. I'm going to take immediate action. I'm not going to be lazy about this. I'm actually going to figure this out. And for those people, that's who the Bible says, those are the righteous. Those are the well done, good and faithful servants. And for the rest of God's people, they're still God's people. They're still his servants. But for the rest of those who are like, I don't want to figure that out. And I'm just going to read my Bible more. I'm just going to pray more. That's good. Read your Bible more. Pray more. But don't be lazy. That's the words of Jesus. Don't be lazy about this whole money thing, because if you are, when the master comes to settle accounts, he's going to find you, quote unquote, wicked in this sense. Okay? Guys, there's the training today. I hope you liked it. If you got some value out of this today, drop some fire emojis. Share this with somebody who needs to see it, someone that you've maybe been having this conversation with or you've been wondering about. Okay, go ahead and share this video. And make sure to check out the next video here on the screen. Like and subscribe if you want to continue to see more information, more content like this. And we'll see you in the next training. Peace.